Welcome to Meet Me in the Penthouse. I am Amy, along here with my sister Molly. We help high-achieving women increase their income, but most importantly, their impact. We are neighbors, sisters, and business partners. We have built 8-figure businesses together, traveled the world together, raised our children together, mentored thousands of men and women together, and it's all because we have a penthouse mindset. We aim for the top, and we show others how to empower themselves to peel back the layers and truly step into their greatness and calling. Welcome to Meet Me in the Penthouse. Welcome to Meet Me in the Penthouse, where we help successful women increase their impact and income. My name is Amy Mosser.
At least you remembered your name this time. My name is Molly Croker. And we have our very dear friend. So it's just like we're hanging out in our jammies with Valerie Edwards, who we have known for almost 20 years. I remember driving to Newton, Iowa, after I worked a physical therapy job and hearing you speak for 4 hours. And we are just excited, honestly, for you to unpack this journey of you growing up, right? Like, I love your little story of being raised the way you were, but then what it's done for you as far as this adoption journey and your business journey and all of that. So kind of walk us back, Val, growing up. And if you saw her, friends, she is drop dead gorgeous, not just on the outside, but on the inside. And she has the most sassy way of dressing. She is literally so, for being from a small town in Kansas, I'm like, how does this girl have such a sense of style? But she is so incredibly kind. She loves everyone. I truly have never heard you say a bad thing about anyone, ever, ever, ever in almost 20 years. So you come from good stock, is what my mom would say. So you come from good stock, and I know you know what that means because you're Kansas, little town girl, but I love just like who you were, how you were raised and all that. So take us back to that. And
absolutely. And I'm going to tell you some little stories that I don't know if they've even like shared this. I think being raised in a family with 6 kids, they went to town out there. So basically, like when growing up with a family of 6, my parents didn't have a lot of money. And the funny thing is I knew that we didn't have money and we struggled financially more so when I was in middle school, because kids can be mean. And, that's when you start kind of noticing maybe that your house isn't as nice or your clothes aren't as nice, things like that. But at the time, my mom made everything amazing. So like, Christmases, even though she didn't have the money to go buy the Guess jeans or the Keds or, those kinds of things that all my friends in middle school had, she would like literally go to Salvation Armies and things like that and like wrap up all these gifts. So like I've kind of carried on a tradition. My son-in-law says I've never been to a Christmas like no Christmas is like yours, Valerie, because you just do all of these things. But I think I look for deals and things like that. I love giving. So I love seeing them unwrap things. And I got that from my mom. She would literally make everything special from our birthdays to Christmas. So I think a lot of how I am, I got that from my mom. But I think, I do remember, growing up in a family where my parents were busy all the time and they didn't have a lot of time or energy to clean the house and pick up and things like that. And there were a lot of times where I didn't have, I always had basic necessities, but like when you have 6 kids and, sisters, everyone's 10 years apart. You're going to lose clothes, you're going to lose socks and brushes. And I remember one time having to leave and go to middle school and I had to brush my hair with a fork, which is very embarrassing to say this, but like I literally remember brushing my hair with a fork because I could not find a brush. It's little things like that. It's me going to Price Chopper with my grandma who had came from Arkansas. So my mom's biological mom had came to visit. I'd only met her like once or twice, and she was on food stamps and she was trying to pay for cereal with food stamps from Arkansas. And I remember my aunt who was with her, she's like, Arkansas food stamps are just like Kansas food stamps. And I have friends that are there at Price Chopper seeing me, and I'm mortified trying to buy like and my mom, that's actually another story. She gave me 2 food stamp dollars to go buy a box of cereal. It was like the yellow Always Safe cereal. What's so crazy is it's like little stories like that, truly, that made me want to be able to go do other things. So I don't eat cereal anymore because of all the sugar. But like I remember thinking when I get older, I'm going to buy like the good cereal. I'm not going to buy the bag cereal that I grew up with, or the cereal with the yellow boxes. And I know now none of that stuff matters, but it's so funny how I never have. Like I always wanted to provide more and not to have to be embarrassed. And it's so crazy how little things like that can affect you and cause sure this something in you that like gives you that drive to do more. Even though I had a great childhood, I still had these little struggles that kind of shaped me on who I am and the way that I think, even as an adult at 47 years old.
Yes. With that lesson that those, with the purchasing with the food stamps and you, that being so impactful to you, bring us to where you are feeding thousands and thousands and thousands of children and families and have over the years in a third world country. Can you fast forward to your journey to how you are doing that?
Yeah. So basically, once we got Mateo home from Guatemala, it took 3.5 years, got him home, got him adjusted. He spoke all Spanish. I spoke English, Spanglish. And so we kind of got that part figured out. And I felt that he was secure being home with us so that if ever we went back to Guatemala, he would feel comfortable that we weren't going to leave him there. I wanted to make sure that he was past that point. We ended up going back in June of 2012, which Amy, you were on that very first mission trip that I went on. And to be honest with you, I just wanted to go to the orphanage where Mateo was and love all over the babies because I knew that those kids that I would see every time I go visit Mateo were not going to get adopted. I knew that they were going to grow up in orphanage care. And so that created something in me and I wanted to do something more. So Doug and I did go send money on a regular basis ourselves. We were sending money to the orphanage, but I just one day Googled mission trips to Guatemala. This is long before I started my nonprofit. Literally just wanted to kind of plan something and check it off my bucket list. I organized it. We had 12 or 13 people go and we spent, all those days with the kids at the orphanage. It was amazing. But what happened is there were people back home that would watch what we were doing and they're like, I want to go. It's like they were able to see this 3.5 year long journey of us trying to bring Mateo home. And then they saw him here. They'd see him on vacations with us and it happened in real life. They experienced that right along with us. But then they saw me go back and they experienced through pictures because social media was just kind of starting to take off at that time. And they felt connected to this mission and they knew me. They knew me in business. So they knew that I was honest and that they could trust me because a lot of people want to volunteer. They want to donate, but they don't know where their money is going. And so I think that's really what happened. So we went in 2012. So many people were like, I want to come, I want to go. And so instead of me just doing one and done, it was and I knew once you're there, you can't just go once and say, I'm done. Your heart is forever there. My faith has grown so much and God kept putting angels in my life and would bring people to me on mission trips that would inspire me to think bigger. And I remember, Amy, having a conversation even with you about starting a nonprofit because we had so many people bringing in donations that we were giving them all to the orphanage. And, there's only so much they can physically do with those. They were probably selling a lot of them to use the money. And so we're I know that you had said something about maybe we need to look at some other outreach projects, things that other places we can support. But what was cool is every time we go, we'd meet somebody else on an airplane or, I know Amy and another one of our team members had went somewhere and met somebody who did homes. And so I knew that I wanted to build homes for families because I saw the need, as we would go deliver bunk beds and things like that. We now have 13 outreach projects throughout Guatemala that we serve. And there's a lot of things I'm really, really proud of. And every project that we support has some kind of a personal connection to me. I really am passionate about all of them, but I have learned the hard way that what's that saying about teach a man to fish versus giving him fish or whatever. And I've learned because my heart wanted to help people. So I would give. But then I learned that there are some people that will just take advantage of that and they'll just expect it. And they're never going to learn anything if you just give it to them. Someone mailed me a book one time and it was When Helping Hurts. And I got offended by it when I first got it. I'm oh my gosh, I'm doing this no reason. But they were trying to explain to me that I needed to do something that was more lasting and longer term, not something that was just going to be temporary, just giving people donations. It needed to be something. So that's what really started creating this. Okay, what can I do that could be sustainable? What's going to really make an impact and a difference in Guatemala and these kids' lives? And honestly, it's education. That's when I started learning more about education. And I wanted to create something that was sustainable, that could continue to grow and people could thrive. Because the more I got to know people and the culture in Guatemala, I realized that a lot of those people wanted to provide for their families. They just didn't have the education or know how to even, they'd not had even been outside their village. Right? So to be able to provide them with an opportunity to work in a garden, we have a garden project and all the vegetables and things from this garden are then, given to the families that are in this after school program, but they also, even the kids, they're in this program are able to pay it forward by, helping to deliver some of these vegetables or whatever to elderly, home-built elderly in their communities, to nursing homes, to orphanages. But then even that, I was always buying like the seeds. My mission teams were always donating the money for the seeds and all the things that they needed. And I would talk to my assistant there. I'm like, I really want them to like, as a business, like maybe they could sell some of these and use that money to like then buy the seeds so that they're not expecting us. So like I wanted it to be a sustainable thing, not where they just depended on us all the time. And what's cool is they're doing that now. They're actually selling it and they pay for their own seeds. And yeah, we have a grocery program. I think there's 45 families in the grocery program. So this couple identified, they're like leaders in their village, and they identify families that could really benefit from having monthly groceries delivered. And I mean, for $30 a month to be able to provide, some staples, they're so grateful. And, there's so many other families that I would love to add on. I would love to add even more than that. But, obviously it takes people wanting to donate monthly and, all of that. But it's not me. It's like, yes, I jumped and I started it, but it's truly like all these people that have made for Love Mateo their family, and they're what has allowed us to be able to do all the things that we've been able to do.
It has been so fun to see it evolve, just because I was on that very first trip. And by the way, I love what you just said. Give a man a fish, he'll eat for a day. Teach a man to fish, he'll eat for a lifetime. And so you are definitely teaching them to fish, right? To make it be sustainable. Take us back, because I was there, and this is my favorite thing. Take us back to in 2012 when we went on a mission trip and the miracle that we experienced there.
I get goosebumps thinking about this right now. It literally is probably one of those stories that maybe it would be hard for someone that wasn't there to believe it, but I had so many people that witnessed it right along with me. I have full on goosebumps right now. So when I had Googled mission trips in Guatemala, I just happened to find this woman that like led mission trips. I didn't have a nonprofit at the time. So, she organized, our trip, but I wanted it to be with my orphanage. I wanted to spend time with the kids. That was my focus. But she did ask us, she's like, hey, one of the things that we do through my ministry is that we'll, go in this village. And what's interesting, I need to figure out where the name of the town is, because I'm curious if it's one that we're now working at, because now that we're there so often. But she's like, we go into this village, we grab a soccer ball and we like just kick it around, and then kids will just come. And they were going to do a Bible study. And so our mission team members went into this community, went and bought like all the veggies, everything. We went back to this house that they let us borrow or something, and we were able to cook this soup. And all of our kids made goodie bags for all the kids. They expected maybe around 80 people would come to this Bible study. But in order to get the kids at the Bible study, they said what they normally do is take a soccer ball, kick it around the soccer field, and then kids will just start coming. They'll see us playing and they'll just come, and then they'll invite them to this Bible study. I'm like, okay, great. So we do this, we're kicking around, and yeah, there was like a full-on game, tons of kids playing. And what's so crazy about it is I think there was maybe like an hour time frame from the time we were done to the time we were going to do this Bible study and serve them dinner. They knew that we were going to serve them dinner. So they went back home and they told their siblings. They went and told their neighbors. And so when we came into this house, and now I see it all the time, so it wasn't so shocking, but the first time it was pretty shocking. So they opened up this door. It kind of looked like a garage and dirt floors, but it was a house, and they all look like that now. So now I'm used to it, but they cleared it out, and they had all of these kids come, and they were sitting on the ground. I have a picture I actually just looked at the other day where these girls are French braiding my hair. And I remember, you're so funny, Amy. Amy's grown a lot too. We could do a whole podcast on Amy's growth.
Valerie was always crawling in the dirt and, because
my
dirty hands on your blonde hair.
Like, you know what? If I get lice, I'll do a treatment when I get home.
God bless her.
Just you.
Yeah.
It was so funny. So you've grown a lot too. But so basically when it was time, they were done with the Bible study, we were getting ready to serve the soup. And we realized that, we were expecting 80 and we have 160. There were so many kids. They weren't even able to all sit. They were standing literally like sardines in this room, but some of them were pouring out. And so we started serving. And, there's that, and I wish I knew the exact scripture, but it was something about when Jesus served 5,000 men, he had loaves of bread and fish or whatever it was, and he was able to serve 5,000 men. We were able to serve every single person that was there in that room, all the kids, all their friends, family, whoever came. We served them and our team members. We also served our team members that ate. Amy may not have eaten that, but literally down to the last drop. That soup, that pot was like the never ending pot of soup. It fed every single person that was in there, even though we made enough for 80 people. That is God, and it's just that right there is a great example of this was a mission that he wanted, us to pursue because of things like that. It's like, okay, I get it. Like, I'm supposed to be doing this.
When things get challenging, as they do, I mean, oh my gosh, you've been going down there for, 14 years, 12 years, whatever it is now. And it's not always easy, but even though I wasn't there and I've been on many more mission trips, sometimes I'll even think of that, like, think about Val and what she did. Like, that is the hand of God. And we always say you're the hands and feet of Jesus. So that to me is such a great thing to instantly bring you back. Like, what is this really all about?
And again, Valerie, like you've done over and over and over in your life, you stepped out in faith. You didn't know the how. You didn't have all the details. You didn't have all the finances. You didn't have the nonprofit, the 501c3 set up, but you had faith and you stepped out and took inspired action. And I think so many times that sidelines people, right? They have a dream on their heart. They have a song in their soul, but the how, they don't know the how. What are some other examples in your life that you have stepped out in faith and you didn't know the how, but God has always provided?
One of the number one, I mean, even before Arbonne, but I guess, so before Arbonne, it was like my husband and I didn't have any money. I mean, we just didn't. We were like a lot of young married couples, got a home we really couldn't afford, stretched to get into it. And then, wanted to decorate it. So charge up those credit cards, because you got all this money. And then, then you got then you got to pay the payments, so we were paycheck to paycheck. And what's so crazy is even looking back to that, when we just I would lay in bed at night and God, how are we going to get through this? And just the stress of like a newly married couple, I was 19, he was 23, maybe 24 when we got married. And just thinking about how are we going to get through this next month? The washer went out or the dryer, whatever, that we had to replace something, but where was that money going to come from? Every single time something happened, whether it was like my mom that provided the food that we needed, it was just, there was always something. And that's what I get. I'm like, Valerie, when I catch myself, and you guys, I still catch myself, even now, at 47, I'll catch myself going to focus on the negative things that are going on or the stuff that feels heavy. But I'm like, why am I focusing on this? It's not my job to focus on it. I need to release it. If I let it go, it's then it gives God that permission to go and do his thing. And I surrender it. I'm like, there's only so much I can do. I can do as much as I can physically with my body, with my heart, but then ultimately I've got to trust that whatever is supposed to happen is going to happen. So early in our marriage, it was finances. And then, Arbonne came along, and in my business, I feel like, again, financially, that was a huge draw for why I came into Arbonne. I needed the money and I needed to be able to provide for our family because we were paycheck to paycheck. I think at the time I was introduced to my business, we were a couple months behind on our car payment, a month behind on our house payment. I did in-home daycare watching 8 kids so I could provide enough money to pay our mortgage payment. And I can't remember what happened, how we got, in a bad situation. But, when I started Arbonne, and I even remember my husband, Doug, was like, Valerie, it's one of those things. And he didn't believe that it was going to work out. I felt like I just knew that it would within my first month of building my business. And I just really dove in. I don't know, it's so weird because I've done other things, but never anything like that. And it was I knew that this was my home because I just did all the things I was supposed to do. And it all worked out. I did work hard. I was committed. It was head down, heart up, ears closed, blinders on. And I just focused and worked hard. And within my first month, I had made enough money to pay our family's mortgage payment. And that's what got my husband okay, well, maybe this could work out, but he was always kind of my glass half empty, Valerie, but this could all fall apart, or can we really afford it? He was always that person for me. And I feel like I've always had people like that in my life, even still to this day. But those people want me to I want to show them. I remember some of the naysayers when I became a vice president of our company and I had to earn my bonus to be able to purchase a white Mercedes-Benz. And I remember Arbonne had written up a story, about, your success story when you promoted. And I'm embarrassed to say this, but there were a few people I put that story in their mailbox, which is so embarrassing because that it was me. And then, we built our house, our bigger house that we used to live in. I remember we were painting it, we were building it, and someone was painting something outside, and it was a family member came up to either my real estate agent or to the builder and was like, can they really afford this? I mean, it was just we constantly had people, she schlepped in lipstick. Doug, he's laid off. Doug was actually laid off for the first time, and he would primarily been our breadwinner. So it's like, I had this, like, I want to prove it to them. Like, so there was a little bit of that too. It's like, tell me that I can't do it. I'm going to show you that I can. So I think it's that balance of like having that faith, being trusting, but also this like little healthy, competitiveness enough to be able to like have that drive, because it's easy to get complacent, or it's easy to even kind of wait around and hope something comes in. This is probably the funniest story of any story I could share, but I legit remember Super Bowl Sunday when I first got married. I remember thinking that Ed McMahon was going to come to my door and I was going to win that grand prize thing. You guys, I didn't even mail the thing out for him to come to my door. Like the sweepstakes are supposed to I didn't even do that. I don't know why, but I just had this strong urge and feeling that he was going to come to my door and I was going to win. Like it's hilarious. Like, I think so many people live their life like that. They just, oh, it'll figure itself out. Well, there is a point to that, but then there's also, you have to like physically, like you have to act. You can't just wait for everything to get dropped in your lap. It comes down to like hard work and commitment and being willing to have the blinders on and the earplugs in and not listen to the naysayers, to keep going. Because you can definitely go down that route and quit because you're like, you're right, or I don't want to listen to it. And I think sometimes they do that out of protection of us, like they love us and they don't want us to get hurt, but they're actually hurting their friends and family by keeping them in the level where they're at. It's like they are afraid, they have their own fear of where they're at in their life, and they want to keep people contained and they don't want them to grow. And in our business, that's the cool thing, is like, it's in my best interest to help everybody grow. So I've seen, like both of you too, I've seen numerous leaders in my life just transform into like eagles. And like, I'm like a proud mama or grandma to be able to like watch firsthand, front row, and see my leaders get up on stage and train and like lead these incredible organizations, and to know that I played a little small part in that. Like, that to me in this business is what keeps me doing this even after 22 years in.
Well, I think anytime that somebody stands up to do something different, right? Even if we hadn't done the inner work, we would be like, oh, maybe I should be doing that. Like, what's wrong with me? What's wrong with me? And I know that was my old default programming and that's what happens when you stepped out in faith, is people are like, whether it was Mateo, whether it was your business, of like, what is she doing? Like, there must be something wrong with me, because look how passionate, look how strong she's standing. And so of course they want to pull you back down. It's like the crabs in the bucket, right? It's like, no, come back down here. This is where you belong. And so I love what you've done.
When you're from a small town, I think it's even worse, because people, you go to high school and they put you in that box of what they think that you're going to be. I didn't have a college degree. I was an average student, but I know that I had people in my life back then even that saw something in me, that just those teachers, or that one conversation, that one note that someone would give you, that I still have, my counselor from high school. Like, I've kept some of those things because it just reminded me that there was something more inside of me. And I think that we all need to have those people. I think for the most part, most of us have at least one person that has been that person for us. And if you got that and you have your faith, I think that you can do anything.
I agree. Well, as we wrap things up a little bit, and as you know, our podcast is called Meet Me in the Penthouse. What does living in the penthouse mean?
It's funny because when you first hear that, you're going to think penthouse, big house, mansion. And to me, that is absolutely not at all what I aspire to have. It is living a life free and with peace and joy and surrounded by love and happiness, living life on your terms, the way that you choose. So to me, the penthouse is where I live right now. I made a tough choice to sell our 40-acre farm, and we were going to build this big, gorgeous house that was going to be a lot of money. And we chose to because it just was not going to provide us the peace. And what I wanted more, and I craved more than anything, was just to be able to just sit and not have any worry about finances and any worry about what would happen if I couldn't do what I do to provide whatever. Like, if something happened, I wasn't around, I wanted to make sure that my family would be supported and comfortable in whatever. So to me, the penthouse is security, peace, joy. That's what that is.
I love that. I love that. Thank you so much, Valerie, for your time. Your nonprofit, Just for Others, because of course we always would love to have support. We have mission trips. Valerie's leading more mission trips, and she does have a website that you can donate on. Could you share a little bit on that?
Yep. So for the Love of Mateo, we have on our website all of our mission trips that we have that you can join throughout the year. Next year, I'm actually leading 3, one in June, August, and December. I typically always lead one in June and December of every year. You can click on the outreach project tab and it'll do a drop down of all the different outreach projects that we support. That's one of the things I tell my team members on every mission trip is I'm like, you're going to experience something here that's going to be life-changing. But what I want for you to take from it is to how can I utilize this experience when I go back home, look within my own community, my own family, and how can I, give back or do big things like taking this experience back home. So just, for those of you guys that, may go on a website and like you look at a mission trip fee, even though I think our mission trip fee is very, very nominal, if money, and you're like, okay, how am I going to afford the flight or whatever, it's easy to kind of think about those things, but the experience that you're going to gain through that is far more than, like you writing a check and just donating it to a nonprofit. It's truly like you go there and it's like that ripple effect. You're going to go back home from that trip and you're going to change the lives. And then people are going to see you, and through watching you and how, it's changing you, they're going to be like, I want to be a part of that. My best friend, actually, the one that passed away, she had said, Valerie, we have 5 family members. So like if we come, or there were 6 of them, she's like, would it just be better for me just to write a check, for like $10,000 and I'll just give it to you? Would you rather that? And I said, actually, no, I'd rather you guys come and experience this, because I knew that if she saw it and experienced it with her own eyes and her family, that she'd be far more moved to do more than just go on that one trip.
So powerful. Sweet Laura.
Yeah.
Sweet Laura, your best. Yes. Yes.
Well, thank you. Thank you, honey. We love you. We adore you. And thanks for tuning in, friends.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for tuning in today for Meet Me in the Penthouse with Sisters Amy and Molly. Please rate and review. We love those 5-star ratings and would love to have you go to our website at sistersnextdoor.com.